Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm here to talk about brain health today, and we have some exciting new material that you might not be aware of. There's been some new studies done, and we want to bring you the latest information. So today, what we want to focus on is, thinking that we can bring you not only the latest research to reduce your risk of developing dementia, but we want to bring you some actions that you can take that might help reduce your risk. We want to look at the difference between modifiable and non-modifiable risk factors. And we want to discuss some tips and strategies to support your brain health and give you some information about where you can get more information. So why is brain health important? Well, obviously, you want to look after your brain. You've only got one, and it needs to take care of you all your life. If you take care of your brain, you can decrease the risk of other chronic or cognitive conditions happening. And when you take care of your brain, it protects your overall health. So your brain, it is the most important organ in your body. It plays a role in your every action and your every thought. And even though you can't see it, it's vital. And you need to not only look after it, but exercise it regularly, just like we do the rest of our body. So while we currently have an incomplete understanding about the mechanics that lead to dementia, researchers have pinpointed several risk factors that increase the chance that somebody will develop dementia. And so some of these risk factors can be modified to possibly delay or reduce the risk. Now, in the year 2020, there was a report put out by the Lancet Commission on Dementia Prevention, Intervention, and Care. And this Lancet Commission identified 12 modifiable risk factors that account for about 40% of dementias worldwide. And the report's authors took a life course approach to identify specific actions that can be done over a lifetime. And it's really important that brain health education and changes to maintain or improve our brain health start at any age. It's never too late. When we go through the presentation today, please note that the 12 actions are not listed in any sort of specific order. They're not rank ordered. And the importance of each of these actions really greatly depends on your own circumstances and the areas where you might require a bit of improvement. So the report, the Lancet report, the findings were incorporated into a study that came out in 2022 called Navigating the Path Forward for Dementia in Canada, the Landmark Study. And we're going to bring you information from the Landmark Study and give you some connections. If you ever want to read it yourself, I'll give you the source. So risk factors are aspects of our lifestyle, our environment, our genetic background that increase the likelihood of getting a disease. And risk factors on their own, they're not a cause of a disease. Rather, risk factors represent an increased chance or likelihood, but not a certainty that dementia will develop. Now, similarly, having no risk factors or little exposure to risk factors does not necessarily protect a person from developing dementia. There are some risk factors that can be changed and we have more control over. Those are the modifiable ones. And there are some that we cannot change, hence non-modifiable. So let's look at the 3 non-modifiable risk factors. Age. Now, although age is the #1 risk factor for developing Alzheimer's disease or other types of dementia, remember that dementia is not necessarily a normal part of aging. Dementia is not a normal part of aging, but age is the biggest risk factor. Females continue to be affected by dementia at a rate that really far outpaces males. The Landmark Study projects that more than 1 million Canadian females will be living with dementia by the year 2050, and that's compared to more than 600,000 males. So one risk factor is our sex assigned at birth. Women may be more at risk because of their increased life expectancy, their biological factors, including sex differences in hormones, brain structure, and health conditions causing inflammation. Genetics. Well, genetics play a role in the disease. However, only a small percentage of cases are associated with specific genes that cause inheritable forms of dementia. Take Alzheimer's, for example. There are two forms of Alzheimer's. There's familial and sporadic. The familial type of Alzheimer's disease has identified 3 genes where they can directly cause Alzheimer's. If a person has an alteration in any of these genes, they will almost certainly develop familial Alzheimer's, and often well before the age of 65. If a parent has any of these faulty genes, then their children have about a 50% chance of inheriting the disease. However, don't panic yet. Familial type Alzheimer's disease is very rare, and it only makes up less than 5% of all the people living with Alzheimer's. The majority of cases are sporadic, and sporadic Alzheimer's disease, it just means the cause is unknown, and it could be a combination of genetics, environment, and lifestyle risk factors all working together. So I want to have a word about lifestyle. Let's look. This is a great chart. We're looking over a lifetime. It is never, ever too early to start caring for your brain, and it is never, never too late. The authors of the study took a life course approach to identifying specific actions that can be done over a lifetime. Less or lack of education is associated with a greater risk of dementia. And this modifiable risk factor is in our early life, up to about age 45. In midlife, which is 45 to 65, hypertension, high alcohol intake, obesity, hearing loss, and traumatic brain injury are factors that we can change or modify. And in later life, that's age 65 or older, smoking, depression, social isolation, physical inactivity, air pollution, and diabetes are all modifiable risk factors. So it's important that brain health education and changes to maintain or improve your brain health start at any age. Take this information home, share it with your grandkids and your great-grandkids and your nieces and your nephews and your cousins and your neighbors and your friends. It is never too soon or too late to make changes. So let's look at the 12 modifiable risk factors. Dementia develops when the risk factors for a disease combine and they reach a level that overwhelms the brain's ability to maintain and repair itself. So reducing as many risk factors as you can just makes sense. By making healthy lifestyle choices, you may be able to reduce your risk of dementia and improve your brain's ability to sustain long-term health. I mentioned earlier that about 40% of dementia cases may be the result of these 12 key modifiable risk factors. And if we could delay the onset of dementia by just 5 years, if we could modify our behaviors, delay dementia by 5 years, we could cut the number of cases in half. So here are the 12 key factors. Remember, they are not rank ordered. There's no particular importance of one over another. It is going to really depend on what you're doing in your life already, what you want to focus on. All of these have bearing. So let's start with protect your heart. What's good for the heart is also good for the brain. So healthy eating, being active, keeping our heart healthy, super important. This is where it's important to maybe track your numbers. That's knowing your weight. If you are obese in midlife, that's the 45 to 65 age range, it increases the risk of developing dementia. Your blood pressure, you want to make sure you have good blood pressure. It should be less than 120/80. People who have high blood pressure, they call it hypertension, in midlife are more likely to develop dementia compared to those with normal blood pressure. And since high blood pressure affects the heart, the arteries, blood circulation, it can really increase the risk of developing vascular dementia. Also maintaining a healthy cholesterol level. So you want to know your cholesterol numbers. High cholesterol, well, that's a risk for heart disease, stroke, and vascular dementia. Being physically active. This is really important. You want to be physically active every day. We already know exercise is good for our bodies, but research shows that exercise is good for our brains too. That's because people who exercise regularly are less likely to develop heart disease, stroke, obesity, diabetes, all those risk factors for dementia. Physical activity also helps pump blood to the brain, and that nourishes the cells with nutrients, with oxygen, and it can even encourage the development of new brain cells. Prospective studies follow the health and behavior of a group of people over time. And there were several prospective studies that looked at middle-aged people and the effects of physical activity on thinking and memory in later life. So they combined the results of 11 of these prospective studies, and what it showed is that regular exercise can significantly reduce the risk of developing dementia by about 30%. And for Alzheimer's disease specifically, the risk was reduced by 45%. Those numbers, I find, are enough to encourage me to get off the couch or out of my chair and moving around. So how much exercise should we do? Well, the World Health Organization, the WHO, recommends that seniors in particular exercise at least 3 times a week to add up to 150 minutes or 2.5 hours. You could do 30 minutes, 5 days a week. But what you want to do is you want to include moderate intensity aerobic exercise, cardio, that's cardio. So that could be brisk walking or riding a bicycle, anything that gets you breathing harder and your heart rate beating faster. Take Zumba, go dancing. If you have reduced mobility, try activities that help you maintain your balance and prevent falls. It could be Tai Chi or gentle yoga, or you could do chair exercises. They've even got chair Zumba. It's also beneficial to do a variety of exercises, including muscle strengthening activities. You want to work those muscles in your legs, your hips, your back, your chest, your abdomen, your shoulders, your arms, at least twice a week. And those would be things like lifting weights, but if that turns you off, you don't have to lift weights. You want to work maybe with resistant bands or do some push-ups and sit-ups, use body weight activities. What is important is that you do physical activities that are right for you and your abilities with your doctor's approval and permission. Choose activities that you enjoy. If you find it hard to exercise on your own, consider joining a group exercise program. And if you're unable to attend class in person, consider joining an online exercise program. And we have Minds in Motion at the Alzheimer's Society. So if you know somebody who has a diagnosis of dementia, that person and their care partner can come and participate in our wonderful double bonus Minds in Motion, where you get exercise and cognitive and social stimulation. It's important, though, whatever you decide to do, that you incorporate it into your daily routine, that it's something you do regularly. You want to reduce sitting for long periods of time. The current saying is that sitting is the new smoking. So start by just adding a bit of physical activity into your daily routine. Choose to go for a walk after supper. Maybe you walk from the far side of the parking lot into the store. Maybe you start walking to the store. Maybe you take the stairs for 1 or 2 flights before you jump on the escalator or the elevator. Because many experts say that walking is one of the safest and most effective forms of aerobic exercise, and it's free. Think maybe not of exercise, but of activity. Think of an activity. You want to choose activities and sports that you enjoy so it doesn't seem like a chore. And if you plan to do physical activity with somebody you know, you're more likely to keep up with it. And you also get the brain boosting benefits of social interaction. So regular exercise, it's good for your body, and it can be good for reducing your stress level and improving your mood, which kind of leads us into social interaction. This is hugely important. We know that being socially active decreases the risk of depression and social isolation, which are both factors for developing dementia. And having an active social life can help reduce stress, brighten your mood, keep your relationships strong, and challenge your brain because you're doing interactive activities. So stay in touch by phone with your family and friends. Talk to your neighbor. When you go out for a walk, say hello to the people you pass on the street. Smile, wave, pat their dogs if you like animals. Interacting with other humans is very good for our brains. You want to spend quality time with people in your household. Maybe you can play games together. Maybe you can do projects together, but you want to make sure that maybe you do puzzles together, that you're not just sitting in front of what my mom calls the boob tube or the television nonstop. Maybe you can volunteer. That's a great thing for your brain. And if you are out and about, try to do things that are social. Hold the door for somebody, smile at people. These things make a difference to how your brain works. So keep up with your old and maybe make some new friends. Managing medical conditions. Okay, how do we keep on top of our health? Obviously, it's important to see your healthcare provider on a regular basis and get treatment for any health conditions that you have. If you're noticing a change in your health, please speak to a healthcare professional. Ensure that you are educated on any conditions that you might have and how to treat them. And if you're taking medications, please ensure you're taking the proper dose at the right time. If medications are giving you side effects and you're concerned, don't just stop cold turkey. Talk to your healthcare provider or talk to your pharmacist. Your pharmacist can be a great resource for you. They can help educate you on conditions, on medications. They can even, in Ontario, as long as you've got an OHIP card, live in Ontario, you can show it to your local pharmacist and they can help you with getting prescriptions for more minor ailments such as rashes or pink eye or insect bites or UTIs, urinary tract infections. And because you don't have to book a doctor's appointment, it can be super convenient for you. So take advantage of that. The other thing that you want to monitor are your blood sugar levels, because we know that people with type 2 diabetes, unfortunately, are at an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, and cognitive impairment. On average, people with type 2 diabetes are twice as likely to develop dementia compared to those without diabetes. So challenge your thinking. It's really important that cognitive engagement is done so that you're doing different things, a variety of things, that you incorporate some new things, some different things. What you were trying to do is get your brain cells to talk to brain cells that they don't always talk to, communicate with, and build up some cognitive reserve. So there's an idea that people who can actively use their brains throughout their lives may be more protected against brain cell damage. It's use it or lose it, right? And if we don't use our muscles, we lose them. And it's the same with our brain cells. So you need to constantly challenge, become a lifelong learner, challenge your brain to learn something new. By constantly learning new things and challenging your brain, you can build up new neural connections, new pathways, maybe learn a language, maybe take up a new hobby, maybe learn more about gardening. If you were good on vegetables, learn about flowers, or learn a musical instrument, or attend workshops. Come to all the Alzheimer's Society workshops you can. Engage in brain challenging games. chess. They've got a picture of a chessboard here for you. Mahjong, number games, or crossword puzzles, or computer games. Any game that involves problem solving and reasoning. Logic games, very, very good for you. And if games involve interaction with others, even better. And if you can break your routine, if you can, even make a small change, challenge yourself to take a new route when you go somewhere, or challenge yourself to try a different morning routine, change up the exercises you normally do something different. Challenge yourself to only use your left hand all day one day. You want to think about different brain activities that you can do. So I'm going to give you one right now. Here's a little brain activity for you. So can you guess the word that is associated with all three of these words? This is what you call a word association game. So challenging your brain doesn't have to be learning calculus. It can be fun too. If you haven't come up with it yet, I'll tell you that the answer is cheese, cottage cheese, Swiss cheese, and cheesecake. Got to say my fave is the cheesecake. Here's another brain teaser for you. Luke had it before, Paul had it behind, Matthew never had it at all, boys don't have it, all girls have it once, old Mr. Mulligan had it twice in succession, and Dr. Lowell had it before and behind. He had it twice as bad behind as before. What is it? Wow, that's a bit of a tough brain exercise. And if you're used to doing number games, it's a good idea to switch it up and try some word games. If you're used to doing word games, maybe it's time to learn how to do a Sudoku. It doesn't involve math at all. It is a logic game. So this brain teaser, do you know the answer? I'll tell you, it's the letter L. There it is. Also want to talk about getting a good night's sleep every night. You've got to try for 6 to 8 hours to maintain brain health. Good sleep, it's actually a necessity. It's not a luxury. It's important that we practice good sleep habits so that we can get good quality sleep at night. They did a study, and people who slept 6 or less hours per night in their 50s and 60s were more likely to develop dementia later in life. We know that it's while you sleep, your brain consolidates memories, does cleanup. You need to have your sleep to be the best you can be. So what are some tips for better sleep? Well, if you're stressed about something and you can't go to sleep because you're wound up, try to deal with the stressor. If you can't do it in the moment, then look at who you can talk to or who can help you. If you wake up a lot and look at the clock and then think, oh my gosh, and panic at the time, they suggest just turning the bedside clock away. So you wake up in the night, you just roll over, you don't look at the clock and get into a tizzy about what time it is. If you can, you want to keep your room very, very dark. You can use blackout curtains. You want to make sure any blinking lights or devices are turned off. If you can exercise, we promote exercise, but not right before bed. What you want to do is exercise during the day. You want to keep, the bed is supposed to be, they say, for 2 things, sleeping and sex, and nothing else. So if you can't sleep and you're tossing and turning and tossing and turning, they suggest you get up and get out of bed. Only associate the bed with sleep. So get up and do something boring. You can maybe read or, try some breathing exercises in a chair, or, watch the moon for a little while if the moon is out, and then go back to bed. Try to avoid watching TV or being on your phone or being on your tablet or being on your laptop for about an hour to 2 hours before you go to bed. You want to decrease your blue light exposure so it's easier for your body to sleep. And they really encourage you to avoid late meals. The earlier you eat in the evening, the better it is usually for your digestion. You can think about taking mindfulness meditation or learning breathing exercises, anything to help relax you and chill you. And you can increase activities during the day. So activities up and naps down. Much less daytime napping is better for evening sleeping. If, unfortunately, you have depression, then you certainly want to get that treated. Depression, what can it look like? It can look like many things, but often it's feelings of being down and having a low mood over a long period, feeling fatigue, having sleep issues, expressing very negative thoughts, lacking interest in things you used to enjoy, withdrawing from others. So if you've noticed changes in your mood or behavior, please speak to your healthcare provider. And if you are depressed and you are in a crisis, please visit your local hospital emergency department or call 24/7. We have a wonderful community mental health association here locally, and you can receive support. Now, you may have heard, because this has been in the news a lot in the last few months, you may have heard that there are new guidelines out on alcohol intake. And so the guidelines for consuming alcohol, and this is not specific for people living with dementia, this is just for people, for adults. The guidance for consuming alcohol, if you're looking for low risk, it would be individuals who consume 2 or less standard drinks a week. We're not talking a day here, folks. We're talking a week. So to be considered low risk, it's 2 or less drinks a week. Moderate risk is for those who consume 3 to 6 standard drinks a week. And if you have 7 or more drinks a week, it's considered high risk. So you really want to be very, very careful. And excessive drinking, which is considered more than 14 drinks a week for women and 21 drinks a week for men, can definitely increase your risk for developing dementia. And drinking may interact with other medications that you're taking or with other related health issues that you have. So be sure you talk it over with your doctor. Let's talk about hearing. Wow, hearing loss has been linked to an increased risk for dementia, in addition to social isolation and loss of independence and problems with everyday activities. People who experience hearing loss often have reduced cognitive stimulation, and that's why it's so important to get your hearing assessed. Studies have shown that hearing loss managed through the use of hearing aids and other interventions may slow cognitive decline. I have seen this throughout my career in the field, and I tell you, I go for my annual hearing tests. I believe this to be true. So how do you reduce your risk for hearing loss? Well, you have annual hearing evaluations. You avoid being exposed to loud sounds, including loud music. You can ask your doctor to check for earwax buildup. If you do wear hearing aids, ensure that they're fitted properly and the batteries are working. You can have that checked by your hearing practitioner. And then this one, finding meaning in life. Why would you want to get out of bed each day? It's really important to know what's important in your life. So you want to find joy in your life. What brings purpose and meaning? How can you incorporate finding joy and purpose and meaning into your daily routine? So when you leave today and you're considering each of the different 12 actions for a healthier brain, make sure that you consider some actions that bring you joy or meaning, because having a purpose for the action will increase the chance that it becomes a habit. So take time to think on this, reflect, and think about what brings meaning and purpose to you. They also obviously recommend avoiding any form of head injury. And really, falls are a major source of head injury, particularly as we age. And many falls can be avoided with caution and care, the right shoes, avoiding tripping hazards. You can even take courses in falls prevention. You can take courses to improve your balance. Almost any exercise program will make it less likely that you fall. There's research that suggests that TBI, or traumatic brain injuries, may increase the risk of dementia, particularly for athletes who were involved in boxing, soccer, hockey, and football, and they may have experienced repeated head injuries or concussions. So it's important that we try to protect our heads. When you're in the car, you wear a seatbelt. If you're involved in any sort of sport, or you know somebody involved in any sort of intense physical activity like skating or skiing or skateboarding or rollerblading or cycling, please ensure that you set a good example. If you're involved, you wear your helmet. And if they are involved, if you are caring for a minor, ensure that children wear their appropriate helmets. Now, if you've been prescribed a mobility aid, that's a walker or a cane, make sure you're using it and you've been fitted properly for it, and that could reduce your risk of falling. There's no shame in using handrails. Use a hand railing when you're walking up or down stairs. Place grab bars at high fall risk areas like your bathroom, in your shower. Try to avoid using scatter rugs. Folks trip on those all the time. So let's talk about 3 healthy behaviors that you might want to take on board if you haven't already. So, healthy food choices. You know, there are many ways to make healthy food choices because we want to diminish our risk for stroke and diabetes and heart disease. And healthy eating can reduce those. What you want to do is try to make sure that you're eating more vegetables and fruit, less refined sugars. You want to make sure that you're using whole grain as opposed to overly refined flours. And you want to make sure you have protein in your diet. If you're interested in good diets that have research behind them, either the Mediterranean or the MIND diet. MIND diet stands for Mediterranean Intervention for Neurodegenerative Delay. That's a mouthful. But the Alzheimer's Society at Alzheimer Waterloo Wellington, we have talks on both the Mediterranean and the MIND diet. So be sure you check those out. And what you're going to do is limit your processed foods, your meats, your sweets, and your dairy. And you're going to emphasize eating more vegetables, fruit, legumes, whole grains, nuts, olives, and fish. And you want to eat a variety of foods. You want to eat a rainbow, basically, because colorful fruits and vegetables, they provide antioxidants into your diet, flavonoids into your diet, fiber into your diet. Can you find healthy ways to flavor your meals? Focus on making the healthy diet tasty by using herbs and spices, maybe seasoning with nuts and olives. Be mindful of your eating habits in how much you're consuming. So you want to choose appropriate portion sizes, eating in moderation, eating healthy snacks, and drinking plenty of water. Canada's Food Guide recommends that you make water your drink of choice. And if you plan your meals in advance, you can develop healthier eating patterns and you don't leave your diet to chance, the mood, or when you have decision fatigue at the end of the day and you can't think of what to make for supper, so you just order in. There are lots of meal planning apps and websites. Now, let's think about reducing avoidable stress. Stress can come short-term, it can come long-term. You know, when we're under short-term stress, that's that fight or flight. When we're under short-term stress, our body releases adrenaline, and that's going to help us react in a dangerous or a tense situation. Long-term stress, when we're unable to relax from what's stressing us, our body then releases cortisol, and cortisol can cause damage to our health. And it's often the reason that we go for comfort foods and can cause a lot of weight gain. So negative effects of stress, and I bet you know all these already, but I'm going to rhyme them off for you. When we are under stress, unremitting for a prolonged period of time, it can start causing problems with our overall health. It plays havoc with our immune system, digestive system, cardiovascular system, our sleep. And overall, we might not feel well. We might have headaches, sadness, anger, irritability. So we need to find ways to manage. We can't always remove the situation that causes the stress, but we can change our reaction to it. So best thing is to take care of yourself. Find some personal time for yourself. Be prepared. If you're going into a new or an unfamiliar situation, it often causes stress or anxiety. Do a little research ahead of time. Find out what you can about the place you're going to, or check things out online ahead of time. Back to the sleep, get plenty of sleep. Try to laugh often. Laughing, as long as it's not at somebody, is good for us. So share a joke. I don't care if they're corny dad jokes, anything to get a giggle. And it's okay to seek and accept support. In fact, it's pretty important to do that. And then there's smoking. Oopsie, I went ahead too soon. I just want to talk about smoking. You know this already. The evidence is strong and consistent that smokers are at a higher risk of developing dementia than non-smokers and ex-smokers. It's never too late to quit. So speak to your healthcare professional. They can provide you with advice on nicotine replacement therapies and medication and resources to help you quit smoking. Now comes the hard part. This is the part where you have to do some thinking, folks, but we know that thinking is good for your brain. So this is where you think about, what is my action plan after today going to be? Think about, what are you already doing to support your brain health? Yay, you, for whatever you're doing. What is one thing, just one, what's one thing you'll start doing to improve your brain health? And I invite you, when you go home, when you've thought about this, maybe you've got somebody to talk it over to at home, maybe you can share the slides with somebody and really reinforce it in your own brain by sharing them. Write down what you're going to do, when you're going to start, how often you're going to do this, what your commitment is. Do you anticipate any challenges with incorporating some of these 12 ideas? And if so, how can you overcome those challenges? So write it down and then post it somewhere. Put it up where you're going to see it every day. When you make that kind of commitment, you're much more likely to follow through. And in the long run, your brain and your body and those who care about you will thank you. You know, the human brain is one of our most vital organs, just like the rest of your body needs to be looked after. So can dementias like Alzheimer's or other types of dementia be prevented? Well, there are no guarantees, but healthy lifestyle choices will help keep your brain as healthy as possible as you age and thus reduce your risk. So by making better lifestyle choices now, you can improve your brain's ability to sustain long-term health and fight illness. So I want to put a plug in for local Alzheimer's Society programs and services. You might have seen this chart before. Just want to remind you that we are available for any type of dementia. If dementia has touched your life, we have counseling, we have support groups, we have education, we have social and recreational programming. There's a YouTube channel you can check out with lots of different talks on it that might be useful to you. Resources. Now you're going to receive this brochure, but the next few slides I'm going to show you have QR codes on them. And if you have a smartphone and you're happy using QR codes, you can just scan that and it'll come up automatically on your phone for you, the brochure on healthier brains. This is the website for reducing risk factors. If you want to read all about, in even more detail, the 12 risk factors, this is right here on the Alzheimer's Society website, or you can just scan the QR code. If you'd like to read the landslide report, this is the landmark report. This is the QR code for it, and it's quite an interesting read. It has a lot of statistics in it, and it does include the information on the 12 suggestions. And this is just a different graphic. In your slide set I showed you earlier, you saw a picture of somebody's head and it had the life line in it. This is just a different version of that lifeline, and it suggests at what age it's really important to focus on different things. I say take them all on board and keep them all on board from as soon as possible. This is our contact information at the Alzheimer's Society. We are a phone call or an email away from you. And if you decide that you do want to check out our YouTube, we have the icon right here at the bottom of the page that looks like a TV with a triangle in it. That icon is for YouTube. And if you go to our website, you can just click on that icon and it'll take you to all our education. So I want to thank you very much for attending today. I'm going to stop the share now. I'm sorry that I'm not here in person with you, but I know that Parneet is going to distribute the materials to you and remind you to come again next month when we have a great talk in September. Take care, everybody, and I'll be back in person soon. Thanks so much. Bye for now.